Okay, so now let's take a look at the next example related to division, and we have 54 flowers over here. Join 9 flowers to make one bracelet. So we have essentially, let's see, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11. 11 times 5 is 55, so 1 is missing, so that's a 54. And each bracelet needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So these are essentially 54 flowers. Each bracelet needs 9 flowers. And again, this is the same type of situation. You have the total number of you have essentially the total number of objects that you want to distribute among, well, a certain number of groups. You don't know how many groups you have, but you know that essentially each group is going to get a certain number of these objects, meaning that you know that each group is going to get essentially 9 flowers. You know you have 54 flowers, but then you don't know how many bracelets you're going to end up with. It's different from a situation where, for example, you have, I don't know, a number of objects over here, and then you want to distribute them among, for example, 3 groups or among 4 groups. Here the number of, essentially in this situation, the number of groups you don't know, but then you know that in each group there is, for example, there is going to be 9 flowers. Okay, so that's basically this type of situation. And so then what you need to do is that you just keep subtracting until you get to essentially, so you subtract, so essentially this is 3, 6, and 9. So this is 9, basically 9 flowers for the first bracelet, right? And then you have another 9 flowers for the second bracelet, another 9 flowers for the third bracelet, another 9 flowers for the fourth bracelet, another 9 flowers for the next bracelet, and this is 5 and 4. This is 9 flowers for the last bracelet. So that means that essentially you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 bracelets over here. And again, you can of course do the same type of calculation that we had. So if you have 54 and you subtract the 9 from it, you'll get essentially a 4, let's say 44, 45. And then if you have a 45, and if you subtract the 9 from it, you'll have 35, 36. If you have 36 and subtract the 9 from it, you will have 26, 27. If you subtract from a 27 and 9, you will have a 16, minus 10 would be 17, so that's an 18. From an 18, if you subtract a 9, you'll get a 9, and from a 9, if you subtract a 9, you'll get a 0. So when you get to 0, essentially that means that you're at the end of the operation. Now here essentially we had to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 steps. We had to go through 6 steps, which means that essentially in this case the number of steps refer to the number of bracelets that you can make, or essentially to the number of groups that you have. And this number 9, which is constant, you keep subtracting it. This refers to essentially to the number of flowers in each bracelet, or essentially the number of objects in each group, basically, right? So that's basically another example. Another example over here, we have basically there are 25 roses. So that's a 3, 6, and 9. 9 times 3 is equal to 27, 28. 3, 6, and 8. 8 times 3 is equal to 24, 25. So here essentially we have 25 flowers. And 5 roses can be placed in one vase. In one vase we have 5 roses. How many vases are needed for placing 25 roses? So again, you can essentially keep taking away 5 roses each time. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the first. That's the first basically vase. The second vase, the third vase, and the fourth would be essentially these two, and then 3 and 5, that would be the last one. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 essentially vases. So this is again the same story. You have essentially you have 25 flowers. Subtract the 5, you'll get a 20. From a 20 subtract the 5, you'll get a 15. From a 15 subtract the 5, you'll get a 10. From a 10 subtract the 5, you'll get a 5. And then from a 5 subtract the 5, you'll get a 0. We went through 5 steps. And here essentially the 5 steps refers to the number of groups that you get, meaning that essentially you know that you can essentially put essentially 5 vases. In each vase you have essentially 5 flowers. So this 5 steps essentially refers to the number of vases, and this 5 over here that you keep subtracting is the number of flowers in each vase. So that's essentially the number of objects in each group basically. Okay. So these are essentially all examples of basically of division, of course. Right? Now, in this example, there are 27 candles over here, and we want to put them equally in 3 boxes. Now this is again a different like the situations that we started with. Here we know the number of groups that we have, and of course we know the number of objects that we want to put in them, but now we don't know essentially how many objects is going to go into each group that we want to calculate. Now we want to know how many candles will be in each box, right? So how do we do that? Essentially you can put essentially, for example, this candle in this box, this candle in this box, and then this candle in this box. And then you can put essentially the next candle, for example, in this box, the next candle in this box, and the next candle, for example, and then you can just keep doing the same thing, right? And then you have to just keep doing that until you end up with no candles, of course, right? Which means that essentially what we are doing here is that you have 27 candles, and you take away 3 of them, you get 24 candles. 24 candles, you take away 3 of them, 21 candles. 21 minus 3 is equal to 18. And then 18 minus 3 is equal to 15. 15 minus 3 is equal to 12. 12 minus 3 is equal to 9. 9 minus 3 is equal to 6. 6 minus 3 is equal to 3. And 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. So we go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 steps. Right? And so here essentially what happens is that so that means that essentially we have 3 groups, and in each group we have essentially 9 candles, meaning that the number of steps actually refers to the number of objects in each group basically. So which means that essentially, and this I I forgot to write essentially the mathematical expression for a division. For example, in this case, you can write that 27 divided by 3 is equal to, for example, a 9, meaning 9 objects are going to go into each of the three, essentially, each of the three boxes. So there will be 9 candles essentially in each box. And of course, based on this, of course, you know that essentially 9 times 3 is also equal to 27, which is essentially the number that we started with, right? Now over here we have another example. Here we have a tailor put 6 buttons on one shirt. Here are 30 buttons. So the tailor will be able to put 30 buttons on so many shirts. So if you have essentially 6 buttons for one shirt, another 6 buttons for another shirt, another 6 buttons for another shirt, another 6 buttons for another shirt, and these are 6 buttons, then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shirts basically, right? So so then you would have essentially you could make essentially 5 shirts using 3 buttons, each is essentially getting 6 buttons. And that you can mathematically, you can write it as 30 buttons divided by 5, essentially divided by 5, which is essentially the number of buttons on each shirt, is equal to 6, which is the number of shirts basically. And of course, you know that 6 times 5 is also equal to 30, which is the number that we started with, right? Now over here, basically we have shared 24 bananas equally among 3 monkeys. So, well, of course you have to subtract, meaning that basically you have 24 bananas, take essentially, you have 3 monkeys, so you give one, essentially you give essentially 1 banana to 1 monkey, another 1 banana to another 1 banana to another, which means that essentially in the first round you take away essentially 3 bananas. In the second round, basically again you take 3 bananas, give 1 to 1 monkey, give 1 to another, and give 1 to another, and then you keep doing that, meaning that in each round you take away essentially 3 of the bananas, right? So what that means is that essentially you have 24 bananas, take away 3 of them, you'll be left with the 21. You have 21, take away 3 of them, you'll be left with 18. 18 minus 3 is equal to 15. 15 minus 3 is equal to 12. 12 minus 3 is equal to 9. 9 minus 3 is equal to 3, and 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. So you get essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 steps. Which means that which is something wrong here. 21 minus 6 is equal to 18. 18 minus 6 is equal to 15, 12, 9. There's the mistake here. It's supposed to be 8 steps. So 9 minus 3 is equal to 6. 6 minus 3 is equal to 3, and 3 minus 3 is equal to 0, which means that you have essentially 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 steps, right? So the number of steps now refers to the number of bananas that each monkey is going to get. So that means that essentially you have 24 bananas, you want to divide them among 3 monkeys, and each monkey is going to get 8 bananas. And of course you know that 3 times 8 is equal to 24, which is essentially the number that we started with, right? So that's essentially the end of this chapter. And now, of course, there is a lot more to say about division, which we will discuss in the next videos. Thank you.